Look, I've been really critical of Labor's Help to Buy scheme, but I've got something to tell you. It's actually a lot worse than we've talked about in the last few days, and I'm here to explain why. Labor's Help to Buy scheme will lock out 99.8% of renters who won't get access to the scheme every year and drive up house prices for everyone. But I actually want to talk about, even if you are one of the few lucky people that get access to this scheme, that Labor says 10,000 people a year, where they'll apparently help them buy a home. Even for those 10,000 people, it's not clear it will help at all and might actually push them into severe mortgage stress. So let's break it down. What we know right now is to even access this scheme. So say you win the lottery, you're one of the 10,000 of the over 5 million adult renters in Australia, the one of the 0.2%. Well, to say buy a home in any capital city, there's actually a price cap you can't exceed. So in Sydney, you can't actually buy a house for more than $950,000. Which is pretty difficult because the average dwelling price in Sydney, $1.2 million. So it's well below the average price. So say by some miracle you find a house that's worth less than $950,000 in Sydney. Well, here's the next problem. You can earn no more than $90,000 a year as a single or $120,000 as a couple. Now you might think, okay, well maybe they're targeting it to low-income people, but it's actually screwing over low-income people. Analysis has shown that say you earn $90,000 a year, you might be starting out as a teacher or a nurse, you might be earning a bit below that. Well, even if you're earning exactly 90K, guess how much you're actually able to borrow from the bank if you have a HECS debt? The maximum you can borrow under this scheme is about $357,000. The problem is that if you wanted to buy a house for $950,000, even where the government is paying for 30% of it and taking on 30% of the loan, well, the loan you need is $665,000, which there's a big gap there, right? So you're not actually able to get a big enough loan even to access this scheme. Now, even if you somehow convince the bank to get access to this scheme and say you're earning $90,000, do you not want to know what proportion of your income you'd have to pay on mortgage repayments right now? 71%, which means you would be in severe financial and housing stress. If you pay them more than 30% of your income, you're in housing stress technically, well, you'd be paying 71%. Now, even after all that, right, say you struggle through, live in poverty, convince the bank to give you a loan they really shouldn't. Well, what happens, say, if you earn above $90,000 above the cap? Well, the government will make you pay back the hundreds of thousands of dollars they lent you to help to buy the home in the first place, which means even if this scheme is successful, somehow you'll be liable for hundreds of thousands of dollars in repayments if somehow your career improves and you get a pay rise above $90,000. Like, that's outrageous. Now, this is exactly why, by the way, when the New South Wales government recently trialled this scheme and they offered 6,000 places, only 503 people took it up. Now, this is why we're so angry at the government, because they're going out here claiming that this bill will help anyone, when in reality, it's failed before. We've seen schemes like the First Home Buyers Grant. They always talk about these schemes, tricky tinkering around the edges, pretending like they care about the housing crisis, when in fact it will make it worse. This is why we've said to Labor we want to negotiate on actual solutions to the crisis. For instance, we could help everyone trying to buy a home by phasing out negative gearing and the capital gains tax discount, the tax handouts for property investors, denying millions of renters the chance to buy a home. We could coordinate a freeze and cap on rent increases. So if you are renting, you don't cop massive rent increases and can save up to buy a home. And also we want to establish a government developer to go and build good quality homes that are then sold and rented at prices people can actually afford for below market rates. We accept we're not going to get everything, but we're not going to accept the government trying to ram through a plan that will drive up house prices, make the housing crisis worse, and screw over the people who even get lucky enough to get access to it in the first place.
Authorised by J. McCall, Australian Greens, Canberra.